A big thank you to Jero for sponsoring today's video on Patreon. The Beamtown Bullies Bad Gifts versus Zaxara, Joda, and Aloro. The recording went and screwed up on me again, so I am going through the replay function, as obviously I have deemed this worthy of an upload. Can't remember if we keep this hand or not. We've got a surveil land to try and get into another land or ramp. We're missing green at the moment, but we do have access to a tutor and some card draw and discards, so might have been tempted to keep this. And we do decide to keep it. Apparently drew into a command tower luckily, so that is our green mana straight off the top, and don't know what was revealed off the top for us, but we'll soon find out. A turn 1 command tower into Soul Warden for Aloro, and another turn 1 creature for Joda, a delighted halfling. Zaxara just passes through the turn, and we drew into the Soul Ring, so obviously decided to keep that on top. Drew into it and played it this turn, and then had the mana for a turn 2 Electric Revelation, discarding the Ebon Blade Reaper. When that attacks, you lose half your life, and whoever it hits loses half their life. Off the rummage, drew into a Swamp and a Bronze Bombshell, so it's over to Aloro's turn again. The Bronze Bombshell combos off with the Thornbite Staff, so if we've got our commander in play equipped with the Thornbite Staff, we can put this under an opponent's control and just constantly reanimate it and deal infinite damage to all of our opponents. Anyway, Aloro goes for an Essence Channeler and gets the plus counter on that straight away. Joda plays and equips a Lightning Greaves and manages to get down a second land for the turn. Zaxara hasn't done anything yet and does risk being left behind this game. Plays a Grackmore into the Soul Sister, so Essence Channeler triggering again for another plus counter. And this turn we draw into another land, so not struggling to get into those this game, thankfully. Question is, do we go for the commander or not? It's been a few days since I played this game, so I actually can't remember what I do here. Yeah, we do go for the commander. I'm thinking that we can set up with Quest for Renewal later. So play the Beamtown Bullies, might as well swing down the middle, I would think. No, we don't decide to swing at all for some reason. Probably just trying not to make any enemies. Gaining 2 life at the beginning of the turn to Aloro triggers the bat again, so already a 6-5. The Esper player still doesn't have all his colours, but does manage with 4 cards in hand to drop a Rhystic Study, and does not swing in with the 6-5 anywhere. Joda plays a Smothering Tithe and will not be able to pay the Rhystic Study tax. So at this point, I decide at the main phase to give the Ebon Blade Reaper over to our opponent, and it does mean that he has multiple players to attack, but both of whom can block, which is what we want with this thing. We don't want it to get exiled at the end of the turn, and obviously the bat had a vested interest in blocking there, so he doesn't lose half of his life total. Knocked this player down to 19 though. So if you do want to use the bullies to reanimate this, then doing it at the beginning of combat and giving it to someone who only has blockers to throw it into is going to be ideal. Smothering Tithe gets its first treasure, and then it is a Return to Nature that goes on to the Rhystic Study as opposed to the Smothering Tithe. Argument to be made for either there. Made sure to pay the tax on it as well, so only drew 1 card to that. We draw a Beast Within for the turn, and we do not pay the Smothering Tithe tax, I have to imagine. So I decided to go for Buried Alive straight away, and I think, can I remember what we went for? I think I go Inverter of Truth, Hellcarver Demon, and the Baldweir Heavyweights, so that we can tutor something out at some point. Let's see here, it is, the Heavyweights, Inverter of Truth, and the Hellcarver Demon. Yeah, I did remember correctly. Throw down the Urborg, because I think I am going to be holding up the Beast Within, so maybe could have gone for the Woodfall or the Wooded Foothills, because we could have got a tap land down with that if we don't use Beast Within, but throw out the Urborg. That does fix the Esper player's colours, and this time going straight down the middle against the Joda player, who could be down to 11 had I have swung in previously. Essence Channeler gets its 6th plus counter, thanks to Aloro at the upkeep. And just doing it at the upkeep now, so the aim was to get rid of Aloro here apparently. Inverter of Truth is going to come into play here and put Rhystic Study in their library, but exile the rest of their library. You swap graveyard and library around, and if you don't have much of a graveyard, then you're out of luck. So Inverter of Truth enters and triggers the Soul Warden for a life gain, and therefore a plus counter on this. And the problem is doing it during the upkeep. We do get rid of our opponent's graveyard and guarantee that they're going to go down in a few turns, but they'll have big scary creatures to swing in with in the meantime. But we do have Beast Within held up, not sure if we use it here. So the Eldrazi resolves. They've got one card in the library. They draw it during the draw phase, so they're definitely going down next turn. But they've still got 6 cards available in hand, so 5 of them could be a means of disrupting the board on the way out. And our opponent does play a land, so 4 mystery cards. And Vampiric Tutor cast after that by the Golgari player over here. The 9/8 now has Vigilance and Flying and can go straight in towards us. The 6/6 can't attack us at least, but does still have to attack, so goes into the right. So we decide to take the damage. He's got something else after that apparently. Plays a Thought Vessel and cast a Dam onto our commander, so could still affect the outcome of the game like I said. We throw Beamtown Bullies into the bin, or into our command zone even I should say. The Inverter of Truth exiled at the end of the turn to its own effect as well. Oh, the Vampiric Tutor wasn't from the Golgari player, it highlighted this player with Vamp Tutor. It was actually this guy that went for the Vamp Tutor and then plays on his turn the 1 ring, so I assume that's what he went for. We'll have protection for a turn and draws with it straight away as you would expect. Had 1 card in hand, plays a land into Faeburrow Elder, and that has haste, comes in at us with a 2/2. Our opponents are seeing the heinous things that we can do in this deck. Inspiring Call is a desperation attempt to draw in something relevant. Only draws 1 but gives the Smothering Tithe player a treasure as well. So I'm not sure if we do anything with Beast Within here. I don't think we do. Could maybe justify going for the Smothering Tithe, but we obviously don't. So through to our turn, I think I just get down the Beamtown Bullies here because I remember swinging in at the Joda player forgetting that he's got protection from everything. I think that's what we do here. Also drew into a Grid Monitor, so whoever has control of this can't play creature spells. And yeah, Beamtown Bullies into play again. Doesn't matter about the 11-10 bat anymore because it's about to go down. And it was the middle player that I attacked, so doesn't take any life to that. The Aloro player will draw from an empty library and go down here. Not before gaining 2 life and getting 1 last trigger on the bat though. So down he goes and it's straight over to the Joda player's turn, who will lose a life to the 1 ring thanks to the 1 burden counter. Decides to draw a couple more cards to the 1 ring, 5 in hand. And down comes his commander, so definitely has the access to the 5 colours he needs in order to cheat something down. Adds 4 mana with the Faeburrow Elder and plays a 5 mana It That Betrays and does have haste available on that, so we held up our removal a turn too soon apparently. Don't think we decide to go for the Beamtown Bullies here. I can't remember. Like I said before, giving the Ebon Blade Reaper away would halve his life total again, but would have it exiled because there can't be a block made over here. Could give him Hellcarver Demon so that he has to sacrifice all his other permanents. I don't think I do that here, but that might have been a play. Okay, we do activate it. Oh, and it is the Hellcarver Demon. I don't remember reanimating that, but apparently that's what we do. So they do have to swing in with this thing, and when it hits a player, sacrifice all other permanents you control and discard your hand. And I forgot to sacrifice the fetch before the It That Betrays came down, so sacked it here and handed it over to Joda, but at least it gets wrapped up in the Hellcarver Demon anyway. And we go for another Surveil land here, seeing a forest on top. I'm thinking that we're going to have to look at the Annihilator 2 and get rid of 2 lands. And what am I thinking? It will be 2 for 5 mana available next turn. This player's probably done, near enough. So I'm not entirely sure what the plan was, just holding up spot removal again. Anyhow, we'll see what I end up doing. Decided to throw the forest away, so we've got enough mana to do what we want to do apparently. And the Eldrazi swings at us, as you would expect, so we take 11 damage and sacrifice a couple of lands. The Hellcarver Demon has to go into the right. And the problem with this deck is that once your opponent's creatures are goaded and it's a 1v1, they still attack you. So if you're giving your opponent big scary creatures with downsides, then you can still take the hit from them and lose. Decide to sacrifice the Swamp and the Urborg, and we've still got a decent amount of black mana. End up handing them over to our opponent, who has 4 cards left in hand, so this will give him the ability to activate Joda again. But he's going to have to do it before the second main phase, because there is the Hellcarver Demon trigger, once it hits our opponent and does successfully manage to exile his entire board and make him discard his hand. So that player decides to scoop at that and throws the Hellcarver Demon into exile, which is where it would have ended up anyway. So then it turns into a 1v1 and we're left with the Zaxara player who still hasn't fixed his colours by turn 6, hasn't done very well on lands at all. Hits us with the 3-3. We're not at the highest life total, so there was still every chance of us losing this. Draw into more spot removal in Infernal Grasp. Swing in for 4 with the Bullies, and at least we've got 4 toughness to the 3 power of their creature, so that might buy us enough turns. And all our opponent had, it looks like it's Hydra Tribal, so a Gargos, and that's not going to do it. Refreshing my memory a bit as I talk now. I think we reanimate the Baldware Heavyweights to do the obnoxious thing on our opponent's turn, so see if I remember correctly here. He does swing in the 3-3 to the 4-4, so he's just having a bit of fun now at this point. Yeah, we do reanimate the Baldware Heavyweights, so make sure to do that during the attack phase so that the 8-8 can't swing in at us. And we go for tutoring off the giant, a Gravebreaker Lamia. That kills 2 birds with 1 stone. We get to block the Hydra and gain a little bit of life. In fact, we kill 3 birds with 1 stone because we get an Entomb here as well for the most obnoxious card in the deck. So decide to tutor in Leveler, and this means that next turn we can start looking at putting that into play under an opponent's control. When it enters, exile all cards from your library. Believe it or not, I did try to play this deck nice for 3 or 4 attempts, and yeah, it just didn't go well. If you're going to run a deck like this, you just have to go all out and make the optimal plays. So this is the result of me going all out and in return not getting absolutely hammered. Didn't want to go for Leveler straight away because the deck can turn into tutor out Leveler, destroy it before it's exiled, and then just rinse and repeat. Like, we've got plenty of spot removal in our hand, for instance, so we could have done this to all 3 opponents maybe. But it's a 1v1 now, so I don't mind showing the Leveler combination. We went out to it the other day, if you didn't see that. Draw into a land, I don't think we're going to need that, but play it anyway. And then finally, a bit too late, but there is Quest for Renewal. Tap down, put the first counter on Quest for Renewal. We're doing this during the upkeep, so going to throw the Leveler into play under our opponent's control. And with 5 cards in hand, as soon as that enters, it exiles the entire library, and so once they go through to the draw step, just like with the first player, they draw to an empty library and we win the game. So the Beamtown Bullies handing out bad gifts all over the place this Christmas. Hope you all enjoyed it, hope you're enjoying the festive season as well. Big thank you to the patrons for their support of the channel this year, and for all the years prior as well. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.